Welcome to the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. Are you over 40 and tired of struggling with your weight, dieting, and constantly feeling like you're starting over with nutrition and fitness? Do you wish you had more energy? Do you want to lose weight and finally keep it off for good? I'm Lil, a certified nutrition coach and former registered nurse. I too have been there, and at the age of 44, I decided I was done with fad diets and chasing a lower number on the scale. I was so tired of constantly starting over and wondering why I couldn't get lasting results. I became a nutrition coach and created the Feel Your Best formula for women who want to build muscle, lose fat, and keep it off for good. If you're ready to build a better relationship with food, the scale, and your body, let's build your formula for feeling your best. If you're new here, make sure to check the episode details for the link to my newbie starter guide. You'll receive an email straight to your inbox with everything you need to start building your Feel Your Best formula. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hey, how are you today? Welcome to episode 18 of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. I know you're going to love today's topic. I mean, if you clicked on this episode, then that means you're interested in losing some fat, or maybe just curious if I'm going to share something that you haven't heard before. Honestly, that's a big reason I started this podcast and my nutrition coaching business, because I'm just so freaking tired of all the mixed messaging out there when it comes to diets, weight loss, etc. And my goal here is to always leave you with something simple and actionable that you can walk away from after each episode. And I really want to clear up the confusion, because there's just so many overcomplicated diets and messaging out there. So I really just want to simplify things for you. So I know I have a big job ahead of me in today's episode, and it's going to be much longer than my previous episodes, but it's because this topic warrants a slightly more in-depth discussion. And honestly, I'm going to be kind of barely scratching the surface as it is. But I'm going to explain my 5 tips for making fat loss easier, because let's face it, fat loss truly wins the award for the most confusing topic out there. A quick scroll of your Instagram and you're going to have your mind spinning with all the quote unquote different solutions out there. One person's telling you intermittent fasting. Another diet is telling you don't eat any meat. Another diet is telling you you should only be eating meat. And then there's some seriously disordered advice out there. You know, recently a video of a certain celebrity telling people they should just drink coffee, have bone broth and vegetables, and also get an IV infusion as a way to detox. I mean, completely bonkers. It's nuts out there. It's the wild, wild west. And, you know, there's also other people preying on you because you may have certain symptoms, and they're telling you they can heal your gut health or your hormones. As someone in my, I don't know if I'm in my I'm 46, so you tell me, am I in my mid-40s or my late 40s? And I'm going through perimenopause, and I know that menopause is just around the corner. And of course, I get all those posts in my feed about someone telling me they can fix all my hormone problems. And I know that I am the target market for those people. There's also people, it's kind of fading out, but there was a big push probably starting about 10 years ago, where people are talking about things like adrenal fatigue or leaky gut, which are actually just totally made up things that don't really exist in the real medical world. Leaky gut kind of does, but adrenal fatigue is like literally not a thing. But basically what some people do is they make up these diagnoses and they try to convince you that you have it, and that's why you're having a hard time losing weight, or that's why you're tired. You know, they don't talk about the fact that a lot of people are stressed and have a lot going on in their lives, and it's just more a lifestyle issue. So they try to convince you that you have this like horrible problem, but their diet is going to help you solve it. And let me be clear, if you have any sort of medical symptoms, go see your doctor, get it checked out. Don't try to fix it by listening to someone online. Those people are just trying to sell you something. So it's just a huge red flag if you see some person telling you they're going to fix your health problems with a diet. And of course, you're going to have to pay them a ton of money for supplements or some very specialized diet. That's just a huge red flag that they don't know what they're talking about and they're just there for a money grab. So today I want to simplify things for you and hopefully alleviate some of the fear, anxiety, or stress that you may feel when you start thinking about intentionally losing body fat. And I hope to give you some clarity on what really matters when it comes to intentional fat loss. So before we dive into the 5 ways to make fat loss easier, I do want to review why fat loss may be something that you're thinking about. But excess body fat, especially visceral fat, that's the fat around your internal organs that then leads you to have, more fat around your midsection, is specifically linked to increased risk of metabolic disorders, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. That you can look up. I got my information from the NIH. It's something I knew, but I just wanted to make sure I'm giving you accurate information. But if you go to the NIH website, they very clearly talk about visceral fat and the consequences that can come from having excess visceral fat. So the higher your BMI, you're more likely at risk for heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, gallstones, breathing problems, and certain cancers. So there is a connection between if you have excess body fat around your midsection, then most likely you are going to have a higher BMI, which is a body mass index, which is an indicator of your overall the weight in your body and whether your weight is appropriate for the size of your body. And it's not 100% accurate. It's just one measuring tool that you can use along with many other things to see where you fall and, what your health risks are. So I don't want to try to convince you that having a high percentage of body fat is detrimental to your health. I'm not here to convince you of that. It's a touchy subject, and there's a whole group of people out there who want you to believe that being overweight or obese has absolutely no negative impact on health. And I doubt that someone who actually believes that would even be listening to this podcast. So I'm going to assume that you know and you can think critically about this issue. And, what I think are what is the most important part of your own beliefs around weight, health, and fat loss is, just ask yourself, what is your experience like in your body? What is your day-to-day life like? A lot of people want to yell and scream at you about other people's bodies and how you should or should not feel about your own body. But at the end of the day, you have to decide how you want your body to feel, and that's up to you. So I recommend just tuning out the noise and asking yourself how you truly feel about your ability to get through daily life. As I've mentioned on other episodes, when I had excess body fat after having my second baby, I had heartburn, I got out of breath, and overall, I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel like myself. And sometimes when we go through different transitions or traumas in our lives and life throws us a curveball, we end up in survival mode. And we don't eat the way that we know we should, and we're just trying to get through life. And then what happens? We end up gaining weight, feeling icky, and we just don't feel like ourselves, and we desperately want to get back to feeling good again. So maybe you're listening to this right now, and maybe you've started taking some steps towards better habits. Maybe you're attempting to lose some body fat. Maybe you've started drinking more water, eating more salads and veggies, getting more movement in, little things like that that are good for you. but you haven't really decided on an exact plan and you're eager to learn more ways to just make those habits easier. So that's exactly what we're going to get into here. 5 ways to make fat loss easier. And I'm going to go over these mostly in order, but with one exception. The last thing on the list is actually the most important, but I saved it to the end because it just kind of makes sense to bring it all together and make that the final point. So I do also want to mention that a lot of times when you're trying to lose fat, you're going to be using a scale, right, to measure your progress there. And there's a lot of scales out there that claim to measure all kinds of data points, estimate your actual age. I don't know. There's all kinds of wonky things that these very overly complicated scales measure, including your percentage of body fat, your percentage of muscle, and things like that. And they cost a lot of money. I think from what I've seen, they're upwards of 40, 50, all the way up to hundreds of dollars. But I would say you don't need to invest in that. They're found to be wildly inaccurate. And while they may make you feel better because you may be trying to rationalize why the scale is going up and down based on these data points that they give you, at the end of the day, I think that it makes things a little bit more confusing. It gives you more things to obsess over, and just using a regular scale is really all you need. That's all I need. Mine was under $20 from Amazon. And I do like that it gives me it goes to the decimal point and it gives me 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. The one I had in the past went 0.2, 0.6, 0.8. And I do mentally just like that little bit of extra differential. But that's just me. You could even use a scale that only used whole numbers or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy. I feel like I could do an entire episode on the scale, and I probably will, because honestly, I'm guessing that you've probably had your own complicated relationship with the scale, and I would love to share with you some tips on how to improve that relationship, but I will save that for another episode. Okay, so let's dive in to the 5 ways to make fat loss easier, because that's why you're here. So number 1, you know this, and I'm just going to hopefully clarify a few things for you, but the number 1 thing you need to get right when you're trying to lose fat is calories. So calories. I've gone over this before in previous episodes, but if you're an animal and you consume food, this is what your body uses for energy. And we measure this energy in calories, just like you measure height in inches or centimeters. We measure energy in calories. So it's really kilocalories, but we shorten it to calories. So your food contains calories, and your body burns calories, and there's various ways that your body burns calories for basic functioning. It burns calories while you're digesting food. It burns calories just in your activities of daily life. You burn calories during your workout, and it all adds up to how many calories you're burning in any given day. So again, I could go more in depth with that, but that's just basically how it works. And if you're consistently over time consuming more calories than your body needs to function, then you gain weight. And if you consistently consume less calories over time, you lose weight. And that's simply because fat is an energy source for your body. And if your body is saying, oh, I'm eating more food than my body needs right now, I'm going to store it for later. And that's where our body fat comes from. So in order to lose this excess body fat, your body needs to enter what's known as a calorie deficit when it comes to that energy balance, which means eating less calories than it needs so that it can burn off that fat that it has stored for later. So this is one way that your body stores energy. Your body uses glucose for your workouts and immediate energy, but you want to dive into that extra fat that is stored in your body, and that's where restricting your calorie on some level comes in. Now, a lot of diets severely restrict your calories because that's how they know they can guarantee that you're going to lose weight. As I've mentioned before, when I was doing other diets, I was eating around 13, 14, 1500 calories per day, which is a huge reduction in the amount of calories that my body needs on a daily basis to function. So I was eating upwards of 700 calories less than my body needs. So of course you're going to lose weight. But what happened? I was really, really hungry, and it's really hard to stick with something that is so restrictive. So you can also lose weight by just taking off a little bit of calories, maybe just 200 or 300 calories a day. You're still going to lose weight. It's going to be a little bit faster, but it's also going to help you do it in a way that's sustainable and better for your overall body composition. When you work with me, I can help you choose the calorie level that is best for you, because when you enter a very restrictive weight loss plan, you're not just losing body fat in your goal. You want to lose body fat, right? You don't want to be losing muscle or tons of water weight, because that isn't really what you're aiming for. We want that lean muscle. Being strong and having muscle is so important for our body. But when you really restrict calories, your body's going to be looking for energy anywhere it can get it. And it's going to pull from both breaking down your muscles and fat. And it's going to be a whole bunch of things that's making the number on the scale go down. But when you're eating the appropriate number of calories and you're taking steps to prevent muscle loss in the way that you balance your diet, you can focus and hone in on creating more of that weight loss from specifically fat loss. And there's so many different diets out there, whether you're intermittent fasting, doing Whole30 or paleo or keto or whatever. All of those diets, all they're doing at the end of the day is getting you in a calorie deficit. And you can do it their way, which, might be a little bit complicated or unsustainable, or you can learn how to actually calculate for yourself how many calories you need, and over time, how to get to that body composition. And it may not be a number on the scale. Your ultimate best body for you might not be 20 pounds less than where you are. It might be 10, because you're going to build a bunch of muscle. So the scale only goes down 10 pounds, but you actually change the way that your body looks. So there's so many nuanced ways that we can determine what is the best way for us to lose body fat, so our body can be healthy and function at an optimal level. And also, we want to look a certain way, we want to feel a certain way. And that takes learning and understanding how our body works and what is best for us, and following a diet that is just super restrictive and focusing only on the scale number going down, not on what is actually happening in our body, can leave us confused, and then we give up. And I know you've been there. So if this has ever happened to you, I want you to know that it's not your fault. And that is just how the diet industry has set things up. And there is a better way. Okay. Now, this leads us to our second way to make fat loss easier, because I'm going to talk to you about protein. Eating adequate amounts of protein is going to make fat loss easier for you. The protein is going to help you in a number of ways. First, it's going to keep you fuller longer. It takes a lot more energy and time to break down protein than other foods, so your body actually burns more calories while you're digesting it. And you can test this out tomorrow. If you normally have a carb-heavy breakfast, or if you skip breakfast, make sure you have a decent amount of protein and notice that you'll stay fuller longer. Have some Greek yogurt, eggs, or maybe a breakfast sandwich. Have a nice mix of carbs and protein, and notice that you can go longer without feeling like you need a snack, or you're not going to be watching the clock for lunchtime. I feel like I noticed this definitely the most at breakfast, because when I was following other diets that had me limiting my protein intake to just 2 eggs in the morning, I was always ravenous by around 10:30 a.m. Now that I eat a huge protein-forward breakfast, I easily go 4+ hours without needing a snack. For example, 2 eggs has about 14 grams of protein, and now my breakfast has about 30 to 50 grams of protein, depending on the day and what my workout is. But I, generally speaking, am at around 30 to 50 grams of protein. What was I going to say here? I'm looking at my notes. I have so many notes, you guys. It took me, I think, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to write everything out, what I was going to say here today. So I'm eating about 3 times the amount of protein than I used to, and in terms of, throughout my day and with each meal. And I'm just so much happier with how I feel, and also the results that I'm getting right now. I'm working to build muscle, so I'm eating at a minimum the number of calories that my body needs to maintain my weight. I'm building that muscle, and then I'm going to do a calorie deficit and focus on losing body fat. But I'm going to need to make sure that I'm maintaining that level of protein, even though I'm going to slightly cut back on my calories. So learning to eat this way, honestly, it's been life-changing, and it's a huge reason why I decided to become a certified nutrition coach, because I really wanted to teach other women how this works and help them feel better and make it not so complicated. So bottom line, your diet plan should include adequate protein throughout the day. You should be spacing it out evenly throughout the day. And I know when I first calculated how much protein I should be eating, I was absolutely shocked and thought it would be so hard to get it in. And it kind of was at first, because I had all these old habits and thought patterns that I had to break. But I created new thought patterns, new habits, and now it is just second nature for me to plan my meals, ensuring that I get enough protein. This is really important if you're pairing a weightlifting workout and trying to build muscle while you're losing weight. You really need to make sure you're eating the adequate amount of protein. And I really recommend reaching out to me or another qualified professional rather than trying to figure it out for yourself, because it is very nuanced and individualized, and you can get really frustrated if you're trying to figure it out on your own. But one of the biggest mistakes I have made before I understood this process was trying to cut calories and do a weightlifting program at the same time. And I wasn't doing it right. And that's why I did not get the sustainable results that I really wanted. Okay, so hopefully you get the point. Protein matters, and you will find fat loss a lot more sustainable when you're eating the right amount of protein. Okay, so let's move on to number 3. If you follow me on Instagram, I talk about this quite a bit, so you're not going to be surprised, but fiber. Dietary wise, I actually only focus on my calories, my protein, and my fiber. I track all 3 of these in my meal tracker, and it just really simplifies the process. I know if I hit these 3 goals daily, that I'm on the right track and I'm heading in the right direction. So rather than complicate it and try to track all these different things, I just focus on those 3 things. So why fiber? Well, similarly to protein, fiber takes longer to digest. You'll be full, satisfied. It's going to take you longer. That food's going to take longer to go through your system. And that means less snacking, mindless eating, or giving into temptations. Eating a really filling, high protein, high fiber meal is a great way to prepare for a trip to the grocery store, or if you're headed out to drinks with your friends or a party, you're not going to have room in your stomach for all these extra empty calories. So I really encourage you to pay attention to how much fiber you're eating. So I have a serious question for you. Have you ever actually tracked how much fiber you're eating? Do you right now, if I asked you how much fiber do you think you eat in a day, would you have an answer to that? Because honestly, I had no idea. It's nothing that anyone had ever said to me was an important part of the process. And when I started tracking, I was shocked at how little fiber I was actually eating. Even though I was eating a good amount of veggies, a good amount of fruit, I still was not eating things that really bulked up that fiber. Fiber is so good for your overall health. It normalizes bowel movements. It increases the weight and size of your poop and helps you have a more regular digestive process. It is also good for your bowel health. Why did I say bowel? A high fiber diet may lower your risk of developing hemorrhoids and small pouches like diverticulitis. These are little pouches that happen in your colon and can get infected. Oh, when I was a nurse, I took care of a few people with diverticulitis, and it is so painful. Studies have also shown that a high fiber diet can lower your risk of colorectal cancer, which is important. It also helps you lower your cholesterol levels. So if you have any cholesterol issues that have come up during your annual visit, looking into increasing your fiber intake can really help. Specifically, beans, oats, flaxseed, and oat bran have been shown to lower total blood cholesterol levels. So really important part of your diet. And it can help you control your blood sugar levels, especially if you are diabetic. It can slow the absorption of sugar and help maintain a healthier level throughout the day. And it has also been shown that it can reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And that's something that if you're overweight or obese, you are at higher risk for developing. It can also do exactly what we're talking about here on this podcast, which is help you achieve a healthy weight through the things that I was talking about by helping you stay full and satisfied. And it's easier to consume less calories in your day because it's keeping you full. And guys, it can help you live longer. Studies suggest that increasing your dietary fiber intake, especially cereal fiber, is associated with a reduced risk of dying from cardiovascular disease and all cancers. So when I tell you that fiber is important, I'm not joking. And I think that it is probably the most neglected part of our diet that is not talked about enough in the diet and fitness industry. Very few people are actually out there talking about the importance of it. So honestly, if this isn't enough to convince you to start eating more fiber, I don't know what is, because the current daily recommended intake is 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories per day for women. I aim for a little bit higher, and I personally aim for 40 grams per day because that's just what's best for my digestive system, and I just feel better overall when I'm aiming for that higher number. Okay, so let's move on to number 4 with our tips. We're almost there. We're almost at the end, but activity level. Your daily activity level, getting in the appropriate amount, is going to make it so much easier for you to lose weight because you need to move more. Now, everyone is different. You may have been tracking and paying attention to how many steps you're getting every day, but overall, your activity level can have such a huge impact on your day-to-day experience with seeking fat loss. And this is why. A lot of people think their workouts are what matter. They think, I'm going to go crazy, a 30, 45, 60-minute workout. I'm going to burn 300, 400, 500 calories in an hour. Yes, go me. I mean, that is awesome. Your workout is important. There's so many benefits to your health. But if you go and kill yourself at the gym and then you are sitting on your butt all day in front of a computer, you're not moving, you're working from home, you're not walking to and from a parking lot, you are not doing a whole lot of chores, and if you spend the majority of your day sitting, then your body really isn't getting the activity that it needs. A workout is great, but on top of that, you want to be moving your body and consistently having your body burn those calories through just regular activities of daily life. So it's probably time to take a look at what your activity level actually is, because that percentage of calories that you burn through just getting more steps in, doing chores, running errands, going for walks outside is such a larger percentage of your daily calorie burn than just those 30 minutes, 45 minutes of your workout. I personally notice a dramatic difference in how much the scale moves in relation to how active I am. And on the flip side, it's also really important to take rest days from your workouts, but also continue to have that daily activity. So just because you're taking a rest day from your workout doesn't mean that you should be sedentary all day. And taking those rest days in between is really going to help you see the benefits of your workouts, especially if you're working to build muscle. Sometimes we can get so obsessed with the workout being the most important part of the fat loss phase, but your body needs the rest from the workout level activity, and you can just do your regular, walking your dog, walking around your neighborhood, that type of activity level on your rest days, and that's really going to benefit you in the long run. I personally like to work out 5 days a week because I just need to for my mental health, but you can get a great lifting session in at as little as 2 or 3 workouts per week. So if you have a really busy work schedule, you could lift on Saturday, Sunday, find one day during the week that you're going to carve out that time for your weightlifting workout, and then make sure that you're getting those extra steps in. Schedule a 15-minute walk away from your desk 3-4 times a day, and just get that extra movement in. Making the time for rest is so important to let your body heal, so you still can do that lower level activity where your body is burning calories, and that's helping you create your calorie deficit, but you're not exerting yourself to the point where your body is fighting to, keep up with those workouts and keep your body healed, because that's when you're lifting weights. That's what you're doing, is you're breaking down your muscles to build them up and make them stronger. So you need that rest time in between. And like I said, so often people just focus on the workouts being the most important part of that fat loss process, but they're just a small piece of it. Yes, you need to work out, but also you need to make sure that you're moving your body enough every single day so that you're helping your body create that calorie deficit. I do want to make note here that there can be very disordered and obsessive issues that come up if you're someone who has a history of an eating disorder, or where you're trying to work out to burn off the calories that you eat. Please do not think that way. Also, if you're trying to use an Apple Watch or any other device to measure, how many calories you're burning in your workouts, and just going crazy with all these numbers, when you work with me, we eliminate that. Yes, I want you to be monitoring your daily activity level, but when it comes to saying like, oh, I burned 500 calories in my workout, so I get to eat 500 more calories in my diet, that is not how we do things. I help you calculate an accurate estimate of how many calories you should be eating per day to reach your goals, but we look at your activity level when we make that calculation. So on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to be looking at your quote-unquote calories burned. They're, again, wildly inaccurate, and the only way to figure out if you're in a calorie deficit is to estimate those calories, and then we track it for 2 to 3 weeks, see what happens, and we adjust as needed. And that's why having that professional help can really take the confusion out, because I'm going to be able to point out to you different factors in your diet, in your daily life, that are contributing to the results that you're getting. So please don't obsess over the calories burned on your devices and instead focus on your overall daily activity patterns and your eating patterns, because that's what really matters. And getting caught in the weeds with all those little individual numbers can literally make you crazy, and it can cause you to focus on things that do not matter. Okay. Number 5, we are at our last point, and I have to say I'm surprised that we're only at 33 minutes here, because I thought this was going to be like an hour long. So here we are. What is the most important thing? And that is, drum roll please. Wish I could snap my fingers. I don't have a drum. But you have to create habits and routines. Yes, you knew I was going to say that. You have to create habits and routines that you can stick to. Now, I know you've been there. You start a diet, you stick to it for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a few months. But ultimately, the requirements of the diet are just too much. And you get overwhelmed, you get sick of it, it's unenjoyable, and you go back to old habits. I personally feel like having the mindset that I'm always looking for new and better ways to make my healthy habits sustainable has been something that's really served me well. And if you're someone that is always looking for ways to be better, then creating these habits and routines, especially if you go back and listen to my episode on the 4 essential habits and routines, this is a system that allows you to constantly be improving and working towards streamlining your nutrition, your fitness, your daily activity level, having a healthy mindset. It's just all so important, and it all works together. And like I said, if you haven't already, go back and listen to my episode on the 4 essential routines. And when you sign up for my 3-month coaching package for nutrition coaching, I also give you access to my Feel Your Best Formula course, which gives you the exact step-by-step guide to create those healthy habits and routines. We go really in depth into what your exact day-to-day life looks like, what you struggle with, what your obstacles are, how you're self-sabotaging, and you create your Feel Your Best formula in a way that you've probably never thought of before. And this is the most essential in creating that long-term fat loss and maintaining those healthy habits that support your goals. So, okay, let me just review our 5 ways to make fat loss easier. 1, you gotta make sure you're eating the correct amount of calories. Too many calories in, and you're gonna gain weight or you're gonna stay where you are. Cut too many calories, and yeah, you're gonna lose weight, but that's also going to be muscle, and it's going to be unsustainable. So it's a delicate balance, and knowing the correct formula for your individual needs so that you can lose weight in an enjoyable way is really, really important. If you've had weight loss success but struggled with maintaining it, then it's probably because you didn't find that right balance. Because once you do hit your goal weight, you also have to learn to eat in a way that's going to help you maintain it. Okay, number 2, protein. Eat your protein. I'm not going to say anything more than that. We went more in depth into it during the episode. In number 3, fiber. Number 4, making sure that you're getting an adequate daily activity level and movement in. And number 5, build those habits and routines and continue to update and tweak them as things change in your life, as your goals change. But having those baseline healthy habits and routines is the secret for short and long-term success in reaching and maintaining your goals. All right, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I really enjoyed talking to you about this topic, and I hope that it cut some of the confusion that you've had or questions that you have. And you can always send me a DM on Instagram or email me, lil@liliuslewis.com, if you have any questions or comments about an episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check the episode details for my new listener starter guide, and any additional resources mentioned in the episode can also be found in the show notes on my website. You can always find me on Instagram at Macros with Lil, and for more healthy lifestyle tips, recipes, and information on my one-to-one and group coaching services, make sure to check out my website. All the links can be found below. If you know someone else who is ready to start building their formula for feeling their best, please share the love and send them a link to the podcast. I hope you found today's episode helpful, and I'll see you back here next week for a brand new one.